America. I'm Maria Hardy with Wklx News. Tonight we begin with the state of Tennessee versus John Thomas Scopes, commonly known as the Scopes Monkey Trial. 24-year-old John Scopes was substituting for a high school biology teacher in Dayton, Tennessee, when he taught evolution from a chapter in the textbook that described Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. John Scopes has been charged on the account of violating Tennessee's Butler Act, which makes it unlawful for teachers to teach the theory of evolution in Tennessee's state-funded schools. The ACLU had originally intended to oppose the Butler Act on the grounds that it violated the teacher's individual rights and academic freedom and was therefore unconstitutional. Scopes has been found guilty on July 21st and was ordered to pay a U.S. $100 fine. Now on to what is currently a trend here in the United States: automobiles. Henry Ford's automobile industry is currently thriving in profit and changing the way America moves. Now we take you to Cody Holcomb, live at Henry Ford's automobile dealership, where he will give you more insight on such a remarkable industry.
Thanks, Maria. I'm here at Henry Ford's dealership in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and as you can see behind me, people are lined up to buy these luxurious vehicles, priced at only $300, and they're making even the most impoverished families travel with ease.
In 1918, only 1 of 13 families owned a car. By 1925, over 10% of all people in the workforce had something to do with production, sales, service, or fueling of automobiles. From then until now, the number of cars on the road increased from 8 million to 23 million. This year so far, 4 out of 5 families own an automobile. Farmers have replaced farm animals with tractors, which is faster and more efficient for them. And Henry Ford's production of school buses has increased education for even those in the most unfortunate community.
Breaking news. The stock market has just crashed. Over $16 million has been lost, and 40% of the value of the economy has just dropped.
Do not try to adjust. The new form is here. Do not try to adjust the picture. A new form of television is here.
An assembly of 43,000 marchers made up of World War I veterans and their families have stood in protest for months. They have been stationed just outside the Capitol with the intention of receiving their long-awaited compensation promised by the World War I Adjusted Compensation Act. Not long after the Bonus Army's occupation of D.C., the U.S. Army, commanded by General MacArthur, was sent in to remove them. 55 veterans were injured and 135 were arrested. A veteran's wife miscarried, and 12-week-old Bernard Myers died in the hospital after being caught in the tear gas attack. Many of the veterans involved have been out of a job since the beginning of this Great Depression, all of which are living in Hoovervilles, or shanty towns made of pieces of cardboard and scraped metal. The residents of these Hoovervilles are forced to resort to soup kitchens where there is scarce amounts of food. We go to Cody Holcomb for more on the subject.
I'm Cody Holcomb reporting to you live at 5th Avenue, where I'm standing in front of a soup kitchen with Kyle Lewis, a Bonus Army veteran. Kyle, how long have you been standing in these lines to get food?
About a week.
A week?
A week.
So these veterans are actually standing in line for food.
I lost my arm in the war. I fought hard out there. And Uncle Sam needs to hurry up and pay me my money.
Thank you, sir. I'm Cody Holcomb reporting to you live at 5th Avenue with Wklx News. Back to you, Maria.
Thanks, Cody. And now we go to an interview with Franklin D. Roosevelt, who is a presidential candidate for this year's election.
Thanks, Maria. I'm Alejandro Camarillo. I'm reporting to you live in Washington, D.C., and I'm here with President candidate Franklin Roosevelt from an exclusive interview about how he feels about the current economic standing of the country. So, Mr. Roosevelt, how do you feel about this Hoovervilles here in Washington, D.C.?
Well, I can definitely assist these poor and unfortunate people with my new deal.
So what is this new deal you speak of?
Well, the new deal encompasses the 3 R's, which are relief, reform, and recovery.
Cool. So how are these 3 R's going to help the country?
Well, I plan to relieve these unfortunate individuals, like these in the Hoovervilles that have no jobs or homes, or even the other 25% of the country that are jobless. Also, I hope to recover the economy by creating all these new jobs to help the country. And by creating all of these new catalysts to better the economy, I'm going to have to create a lot of new policies and reform those that are in place now, all of which will better our country and bring us home.
Sounds like a plan. So what about the bonus army? How do you feel about them and how do you plan to help them?
Well, I feel as if Hoover screwed us over and went a little overboard by sending the military after them. They're just veterans that have fought for our freedom and deserve the bonus they're begging for. I'm going to try my best to get their money to them as soon as possible.
That's great. What about those in soup kitchens that stand in line for days or weeks just to get spare food?
They're a part of my relief segment of my new deal. They will be back at work and in a home before you know it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mr. Roosevelt, for your time and information.
You're welcome.
And good luck with your campaign.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, I'm Kyle Lewis with Wklx News, and I'm reporting live here in Washington, D.C. with our President Hoover, who is running for re-election. So how are you doing?
Fine, fine. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, so how do you feel about the Hoovervilles around the country?
I feel as though they will work themselves out soon. Our country will be back to normal.
How do you plan to fix them?
Well, there are just mere setbacks on a long road to success. We will overcome them as a nation.
So are you worried about the coming election?
No, not at all. I'm sure my fellow Americans will support me and my plans for success.
Well, how do you feel about Roosevelt and his 3 R's?
They will not work. They are simply a failure and more symbol of ignorance. Roosevelt would not be able to run this country.
What is your take on the current economic standings of the country?
Well, I believe that we are just fine. Every night I have a wonderful 8-course meal with my wife, and life couldn't be much better.
Okay, so you heard it first on Wklx News. Thank you.
Franklin D. Roosevelt is America's new president as of 1932 and shows a promising effort to better our nation's economy with his New Deal. He believes the Great Depression is a national emergency and needs to be returned to prosperity. The New Deal imposes relief, which is short-term actions such as emergency jobs. Recovery, restoring economy by increasing incentives to produce and rebuild purchasing power. And reform, correcting defects in the structure of the nation's economy in order to protect against another depression. Roosevelt has included what he calls alphabet agencies in his call for action to better the economy. His examples of alphabet agencies are Social Security Administration, which provides retirement, disability benefits, and welfare. Another one is the Works Progress Administration, or also known as the WPA, and it has employed over 3.3 million people already, and the largest and most prosperous New Deal agency far yet. And also the Public Works Administration, the PWA, has built dams, bridges, hospitals, and schools to help revive the economy. Some of the alphabet agencies recovered, some reformed, and some relieved as the 3 R's of the New Deal that President Roosevelt has given to our nation.
Thanks, Maria. So as you can see, the middle of our country is very severely being affected by these Dust Bowl storms, and a lot of the dirt and excess sediment is being displaced all over the East Coast, and it is severely affecting crops, people, and social activities. We advise anyone who is getting caught in a dust storm to stay inside, shut all windows and doors, to lock themselves in a room to where they can keep all dust out and stay as inside and away from the dust storm as possible. These storms are very serious, and they can cause suffocation and certain diseases if you get caught in them. Thanks, Maria. Due to severe drought and extensive farming without crop rotation, fallow fields, covered crops, or other techniques to prevent wind erosion, deep plowing of the virgin topsoil of the Great Plains has displaced the natural deep-rooted grasses that normally keep the soil in place and trap moisture even during periods of drought and high winds. Consequently, severe dust storms are causing major ecological and agricultural damage to American lands. Without keeping the soil in place, it dried, turned to dust, and blew away eastward and southward in large dark clouds. At times, the clouds blackened the sky, reaching all the way to the East Coast cities such as New York and Washington, D.C. Much of the soil is ending up deposited in the Atlantic Ocean. carried by prevailing winds, which were created by the dry and bare soil conditions. We refer to this as the Dust Bowl. This is WKLX News weather with Kyle Lewis on channel 16.
The flappers. The new electric appliances today, like refrigerators and vacuum cleaners, have made it possible for women to be independent. Many women are working instead of staying at home and are beginning to become interested in their appearances. They're wearing makeup, short skirts and dresses, cutting their hair, wearing heels, and everything else revealing. Entertainment. A rise of entertainment has allowed many Americans to go out and have fun as they go to the new movie theaters, dancing, sports, and listening to the radios. The advanced technology of today is changing the way Americans live.
I'm Kyle Lewis in for Maria Hardy. Washington officials will be looking carefully at whether the record low 2.5% discount rate will revive business. So far, easy money hasn't affected the credit picture much, with demand for commercial credit continuing down. However, the lower rates and longer duration now in effect should give a fairer test. It is also hoped that easy credit together with lower commodity prices will encourage businesses to restock. Colonel Ayers, Vice President of Cleveland Trust, predicts an abrupt recovery in stock and commodity prices by Labor Day due to current consumption exceeding production. He distinguishes between two types of depression, V-shaped and U-shaped. Conservative observers warn clients against buying into the rally and advise those in the market to sell when the market turns weak again. One experienced observer criticizes the excess of optimistic market talk and says the market won't improve until fundamental business conditions do. Market observers see some hopeful signs. Buying support is now coming out for stocks when they approach recent lows, and volume has been low in response to bear operations. We can anticipate a possible quiet period rather than strong rally. It is said this is typical of the end of bear markets. Congressional subcommittee praises a strategy of accelerating public works projects to moderate unemployment and business slowdowns, emphasizes good psychological effect of doing this quickly. Census indicates New York City contains 300,000 unemployed and 100,000 drifters. Senator Glass is heading a subcommittee considering extensive changes to banking regulations. Among the changes considered are restricting speculative loans by banks to brokers and stock exchange members, removing the Secretary of the Treasury as a member of the Federal Reserve Board because of undue influence, making it easier for banks to expand nationwide, etc. Anticipated the committee will have meetings all of next year's session and submit recommendations December 1931. Jay Westerfield of the New York Stock Exchange lectures civics clubs of Yonkers on the causes of the current business recession, says the effort to attribute it to any single cause is superficial, criticizes sanguine statements of, quote, new era economists that, quote, the vast amount of reliable statistical information had practically abolished the old-time evils of large inventories and overproduction, unquote. Concludes that an illusion grew popular that paper profits and quoted values for real estate, commodities, securities, and other forms of property increased fortunes and thereby spending power. Central Trust of Illinois says the economy seems to be recently improving from the end of 1929 and the first months of 1930. Employment and imports seem to be trending up recently, and Union Trust of Cleveland also say the long-term outlook is improving and some indicators are pointing up. Philip Wagner, president of the Underwood Office Equipment, is also seeing good month-to-month improvement. A survey of Illinois Manufacturers Association finds slow but sure recovery in business. Expects the improvement in the second half of 1930 with profits for years as large as 1928 and further improvement in 1931. Technicolor is the target of multiple attacks amid rumors of lost contracts and competitor color film processes. Stock has declined from $70 to $25 over a period of weeks, and the company denies these rumors and says full capacity is sold out well into 1931. The current year earnings is estimated at $5.